question then. This next one is, how do you find somebody to fund your e-commerce startup, either as an investor or as a lender? Yeah. Any direction would be appreciated. This one's from Reddit too.
Oh gosh, that is a minefield, and I've sat on both sides of the equation here. I bootstrapped my first couple businesses. The one I started in my college dorm room. My brother and I actually started a business right after 9/11 in 2001. We bootstrapped up to 8 figures of revenue, so $10+ million of annual revenue. And then my last business was just the opposite. We ended up, raising a $5 million Series A round of funding, which was the first in Arkansas, which is where we're located, in over a decade. And then a few months after that, the Dillard's department store, the publicly traded Fortune 500 retailer, invested in our Series B. So we raised that. And then, a $93 million Series C, one of the, probably 10 largest e-commerce fundings of all time. And it happened in Arkansas. And so I've run that route, and I can tell you a little bit about that, but let me tell you about the other side of the table too. For the last 3 years, I've run Hayseed Ventures, and it's a funding arm that we use to incubate small startup e-commerce companies. So we'd write small checks anywhere from $50,000 up to, I think our largest was $250,000. And the things we were looking for are a little bit different. If you're running a run-of-the-mill e-commerce startup that sells other people's stuff and nothing really separates you, the first question you're going to get is, how are you going to beat Amazon? And if you don't have an answer to that question, just don't even try. Just give up. Stop trying to raise capital. You're not going to do it unless you raise it from an idiot or friends, family, or fools. And then you got to ask yourself, why am I doing e-commerce if I'm not differentiated in any sort of way? This is not 2001. I was not differentiated in 01. You just arbitraged keywords off of Google. They were super cheap. I sold barbecue grills back in the day, and you used to be able to buy the word barbecue grill for a penny, a nickel, a dime. And if you sold grills, it was hard not to make money out of that equation. Well, let's see, same keyword today probably costs $4 or $5 or $6 off Google. So really hard to arbitrage other people's stuff. So it's got to be something better than that. There has to be some reason. Well, there has to be customer loyalty. There has to be repeat purchase behavior. There has to be something there, or any e-commerce investor worth their salt is going to pass. How we found ours was pretty interesting. We were at the right place, right time in 2009 when we raised our first round. E-commerce was still young, hot, and sexy, and there were a lot of people making investments in e-com. Dillard's came along, and they were looking to solve a few challenges on their own internal side. So that was a pretty easy one. We had some really good intellectual property that they wanted access to, and the robots. That's what's interesting about that deal is if you have robots, you have a pretty high chance. We had a Kiva automated robot fulfillment center system, one of the 20 that had been installed, and Dillard's was actually building the 21st install of this. And so they came up, toured our facility, and I asked Mr. Dillard for money, and he funded us.
How did that actually happen? So were you following that they were doing that, and you reached out that you had them, or was it just...
No, it was a stroke of dumb luck. There's a guy named Nick White. Nick was on the board at Dillard's. He was one of the early Walmart guys. I think he was on the founding team of Sam's Club or something like that. And I happened to play golf with him one afternoon. That's what happens in Bentonville, Arkansas. You just run into people right on Dillard's board and Walmart's board. And so about halfway through the round, I mean, believe it or not, I had no idea who this guy was. He's one of the more powerful men in all of retail. And he said, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm a doctor." And I just kind of went on to him my next shot. And then I told him, I said, "Well, we just installed these robots," and blah, 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 and told him the story. He gets on his phone on the next hole. He says, "Mr. Dillard would like to meet you. He's one of my good friends, and I'm on the board." So that's how, it's just serendipitously. Yeah. And believe it or not, that's how things get funded outside of Silicon Valley. If you look at Arkansas, I think we're a microcosm for every city in the U.S. Other than Silicon Valley. Maybe Austin, maybe New York. But for the most part, finding investors is pretty serendipitous. Mm-hmm. So Engine, for instance, same type deal. We just closed a $2 million round of seed funding, and there's really no local seed funding group pitch. And seed funding almost always comes within a 50 or 100-mile radius of where the investor lives. So for us in Arkansas to go get seed funding, now maybe my resume is a little bit different than yours. Maybe I could have gotten seed funding for Silicon Valley or New York. For most people, seed funding checks come within 50 or 100 miles of where they're located. So we just, happened to run into another CEO of a publicly traded company, and he stroked the whole seed funding route. And he happened to be an e-commerce investor. He was in Shipped, which just sold to Target for $550 million. They had just consummated that transaction and found a good place to take some of his money off that.
So with that, like making it as actionable as possible, if someone's coming to you, what are the 3 to 4 to 5 things that they absolutely have to have for you to look at it?
Yeah, I mean, there's several. Number one is the Amazon question. If you don't have a good answer to how do you compete in the Amazon world, then I'm out. Number two, it has to be your own product for the most part. I'm not, unless there's something super special that I haven't seen, you have to have your own product. Because today the loyalty is seeming to lie more in the brand side. So like our last one, hey, it's a Fossil watch. Right. I'm not going to buy it from this retailer. I'm going to buy it from Fossil. I like Fossil. I don't like you as a retailer necessarily. And that's just the way things are. So I want to see a completely differentiated product that you can't buy other places. Hey, if it's your own product, hey, go sell it on Amazon as well. That's a fine answer. But it's got to be your own product. Number three, oh wow, this one, I'm debating whether that's more important than number two or as important, but it's lifetime number of purchases and customer loyalty, right? So if you are Zappos, for instance, I buy, with 3 kids that are in different sports and a wife who does many activities and many different activities, I bet we buy 30, 40 pairs of shoes from Zappos every year. That's a pretty good lifetime value there.
Do they have to have the horizontal integration when they meet with you, or just a plan for it?
That's a difficult question because I tried that in my last business. We started with cowboy boots and we sold a bunch of cowboy boots. And cowboy boots inherently have a low number of repeat purchases. 1.28 purchases per purchaser in the first year. So how many pairs of cowboy boots do you really need? So we tried to horizontally spread across and be everything in the country lifestyle, and frankly didn't do a very good job of it. So no, if I'm going to write you a check, I kind of want to see that. Dollar Shave Club cheats on that. They sign you up for a monthly subscription, and so their number of purchases per purchaser is off the charts. Geez, what is it, 36, 60? I don't know.
It was like 48 the last time we looked at it.
Way up there. I mean, even Casper. Look at Casper. So you order one mattress, and that seems like it'd be a very low number of purchases per purchaser. But so that brings us to number 4. Well, how did they get around it? Well, that mattress probably costs $100 to make, and they sell it for $999.
Well, now they've expanded to sheets and pillows, and they've expanded their product base.
Exactly. There's your purchase per purchaser going up, because sheets, I mean, that's a replenishable, replaceable thing. Oh, and when your kid jumps on your Casper mattress, it's pretty cool. They want one too. And so it kind of spreads, and then you tell other people, I ordered this mattress online. It came in a box about this, the size of a very. I cut it open, the dang thing expanded. I put it on my bed, and lo and behold, it was actually comfortable. And man, it was easy. I didn't have to borrow somebody's pickup truck. So they've got a virality built into that as well. So that's it. So gross margin per purchase. $999. Let's say it costs them $100, maybe $50 to ship it. So they're making $800, $850 on a transaction. So that'd probably be my 4th or 5th one.
Well, with Casper too, they have the trust factor of if you don't like it after 100 days, you can still send it back. Well, when they send it back, they actually donate it to like a nearby homeless shelter or something like that, so it gets used. So there's almost like a social value even through their returns program.
Stance socks is another one. Socks are obviously replenishable, but they sell like $30, $40 pair of socks. They got to be pretty special, and they are. I've been out to their factory. I know Jeff, their CEO, fairly well, and had the pleasure of touring. There's a lot of magic that goes into every one of these Stance socks. And how about that? Yeah, you weren't expecting that.
No, I'm a sock fan. So.
But how many pairs of Stance socks do I own? I probably have a dozen pair, and they aren't going to last forever. And 3 months from now, I'm probably going to buy another dozen pair, and just because they wowed me. It's incredible. So.
What did they do? So your repeat purchases, are they, and this is kind of going off topic for the question, but
sure.
What did they do to re-incentivize a second purchase? Was it just providing an amazing experience?
Yeah, I mean, the socks were fantastic. The other thing they did, and this is post-purchase, this was fantastic. There's a ruler in
That's right, yeah.
in with their underwear. So you order underwear as well from them, and the underwear is wrapped in a ruler. There's no instructions. It doesn't say what you're supposed to do with this ruler. But I'll be darned if I didn't walk in into the office the next day and say, dude, look at this. Yeah. Here's the underwear I bought. There's a 7-inch ruler. And then the jokes started flowing, you know? I mean, too big a ruler, too small a ruler. I mean, you know, I mean, whatever. But, I mean, it was interesting. It was compelling, and not to take it in a crude direction, but it was definitely a conversation starter and something very, very memorable. A local brand here in town called Lauren James. If you go Google, you go to YouTube actually and type Lauren James unboxing, you'll see, gosh, close to 1 million results on this. It's so. Unbelievable. They send this beautiful, well, if you're a teenage girl, it's beautiful, pink packaging. And they're
sorority.
Yeah, sorority girl. Their target market. And you open this thing up, and it's pretty spectacular. It's very similar to, but in a different way, to the unboxing of an Apple product. It's done very, very well. And so, yeah, you're a sorority girl. You just bought from Lauren James. It's got to be pretty incredible for me to whip out my phone and view myself unboxing it. And then to waste your social cred and post that out on YouTube, you've got to have an experience there. So that's another thing that I offered to invest in Lauren James. They didn't take our money because they didn't need it. They were making too much money. So I hate that Lance didn't take it, because that would have been a great investment.